Howdy, folks. Today we're looking at Detective Comics number 38 in facsimile form from 1940 in DC Comics. And there goes the neighborhood. In the space of just 2 years, the burgeoning field of comic books has changed drastically, from the initial blockbuster success of Superman through to the introduction of Robin the Boy Wonder. We've seen the rapid evolution of the format, kickstarted by the discovery of its killer app in the superhero, and leading from the earliest wild experiments. These changes trend with a certain inevitability to this moment here. Not only is the superhero now recognized fully as a distinct type, ontologically separate from the various mostly unmasked detective characters crowding the later pages of the magazine, but that type is recognized as one that requires a conscious adulteration in order to be made more palatable to a general audience. The addition of Robin to the formula necessitated pulling back on the sharper edges and moderating the more sensationalistic elements. Batman was now and forever a role model, with his on-panel behavior at all times framed to a degree as pedagogical, intended to provide explicit moral example for his young ward. So yes, it's not hard to see why later generations of fans would grow to resent this character so severely. On the most basic level, Robin was introduced to keep Batman from acting too cool. That's not to say that Batman's world was suddenly a Technicolor Fantasia. No, this was still 1940 after all. Dick Grayson's parents don't die on panel, but they die directly off panel as their son watches. By the next page, however, the kid is already making candlelit oaths to Batman, swearing that we two will fight together against crime and corruption and never swerve from the path of righteousness. The Batman who fought the monk and his evil werewolves didn't really seem to care much for righteousness, but the Batman who was selling comics in the millions, that guy needed to lean a little on righteousness if he wanted to move units. It still must be pointed out that Robin kills at least one guy on panel here, knocking him off a girder many stories above the ground at a construction site. It's not dwelled upon, but the establishing shot clearly depicts a fatal height to fall. Still, the utter grotesquerie of the early stories would fade into a different kind of carnivalesque, as the invention of Robin served ultimately as prelude to another change of a more roundly salutary nature, the introduction of supervillains as a category, which followed almost immediately thereafter. The package is coming together, so to speak. Say what you will about Bob Kane, and oh boy, is there a lot to say. Even Stan Lee thought the guy was an unpleasant blowhard, to give you the idea. Just about everything good and interesting about the character proceeds from the work of guys like Bill Finger and Jerry Robinson. Kane's name was on the cover, however, and his first concern was commercial appeal. That's why Batman developed so quickly in the direction of a more palatable mainstream formula, whereas Superman took a little longer to get to the same place. Superman's creators had a distinctive vision for what they wanted their guy to be and to do that dominated the first couple years of that strip, whereas Batman's putative creator had a distinct vision for making a lot of money.